Hey there. I'm excited to have you join me, and I think you're going to be excited about listening to this conversation. I had been wanting to interview a guy by the name of Antonio Barbosa, who is in Portugal, lives in Portugal. He's an international real estate member, so he's a member of NAR and has the Certified International Property Specialist designation, and just a really, really good guy. He's very active in doing trade missions to Portugal, knows the country intimately, and we just had a great conversation about what happens if I want to invest in Portugal. What are the benefits? Can I get a loan? What about visas? How do I get visas and all that kind of stuff? Really, really interesting stuff. You're going to enjoy it because the more we know about our global community, the better we're all going to be. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Antonio Barbosa. Hey, everybody, I'm really excited that I get to have a conversation with my friend Antonio Barbosa from Portugal. Antonio, please introduce yourself to our viewers if you don't mind.
Hi, Jenny. Hello, everyone. Well, I'll be very brief. When you have to talk about yourself, nobody likes it, right? I think those are the things. Talking in public and about yourself, those are probably the most hardest things to do. So I'll be very quick. I would just say that I'm a CIPS realtor, passionate about real people, real life, and real estate. Okay. I'm a lifestyle specialist, relocation. I don't sell homes, sell dreams, and I'm the
Mm,
most charming man with the most disarming smile. If you're not my friend, it's because I have not met you yet.
oh, I
And
love
I'm an
that.
avid foodie,
Mm,
traveler, a whiny. I love wine, love food. Who doesn't, right,
you're
Ginny?
enticing me. I mean, I'd have to make a trip
a
to
per-
Portugal.
yeah, a perpetual student of cultures and people, and just living life. That's what it's about: real people, real life,
Mm.
real estate. So happy to be here, Ginny.
I love it, and that's one of the things that I know I have been to Portugal, but it was a very long time ago. But one of the things I've always understood about the Portuguese people, and this is a generalization, is they're like you, warm and friendly and welcoming and just enjoying life. It's a tiny country. And I know you're very, very active in bringing trade missions, bringing people into Portugal to come and buy homes there. And I know it's been tremendously successful. And I see it pop up all the time. So talk a little bit about what you do with that, how it works. What can somebody do to get involved?
Well, it's about, when real estate is about, and especially relocation, it's about finding why should you choose Portugal? So many beautiful countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Portugal is just one of them. And so what we try to do is show why it should be a place to consider, like many others. And so when you show the people, as you mentioned, the culture, the
Mm-hmm.
food, the wine,
Mm-hmm.
the locations, this should be one of the reasons. And when we do the trade missions for people to experience that, they learn the buying process with our team, lawyers, golden visa specialists, loan officer, or loan brokers, etc. So buying process, the visa processes. So we explain to them what the from A to Z, what is the whole process of getting to move to Portugal. And
Mm-hmm.
first is, like everything else, is determining the location. So
Right.
that's what we try to figure out when somebody visits Portugal with us, where, if it's in the north, in the south, in the center, because Portugal, although it is small, Ginny, it's pretty big. And
It,
so we just try to show the culture and everything that goes around it. The real estate will come afterwards, that's for
right.
sure. But we
I
also
love,
show real estate opportunities.
but that's what I love about it all. Yes, I mean, when you think of course, I do travel to Europe, and I'm also a CIPS and CIPS instructor, which I love, and I love talking about the world and everything about the world, and I've always been enamored with Portugal. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and we talked about it briefly before, and I had read this years ago, and I teach this when I teach CIPS, and it's one of the things that I found very special about Portugal is that they want to protect their history and their culture, and that there we just kind of mentioned this, there's buildings that if it's in a historical area, you cannot, the look of the outside has to remain. You can do whatever you want on the inside, the look on the outside has to remain. Would you talk about that a little bit? I just find that fascinating. I wish others would do that, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
share that with me, please.
yeah, sure. There are in the urban rehabilitation areas, okay, well, they're classified buildings, landmark buildings, and normally it's historic areas, okay, the older, century olds, etc. So there's a great heritage that comes with that, and you have to maintain the whole facade of the building or whatever exists and rebuild it the same way it was. Even when they go in their files and the archives and they know what the building looked like, you have to rebuild as to maintain as part of the heritage. Even if you have a tiled building, there's a lot of beautiful buildings that have tiles on the outside. And so you have to replace those tiles. Like you can't just put cement over them or anything. You have to go back. And so, especially in the big urban areas, Lisbon, Porto, or even historic areas, small little villages, it's classified as the urban rehabilitation areas. And it does. It's just to protect the heritage, the culture.
Yeah. Well, it's the beauty of those buildings is you know, I laugh when I live in California, as you know, and I laugh because old in California is the 1800s. And I lived in Connecticut. My daughter was born in Fairfield, Connecticut, and Connecticut was settled in 1639. And you think that's old. Now go to Europe. Now let's go and talk about 12th century, 11th century, and all that kind of stuff. And the history is just breathtaking. And that's why I fell in love with the country. But I love that whole part of Europe. I think after the 80th anniversary of World War II stuff in Belgium and France, I'm going to start making some trips elsewhere, but I think I need to come to Portugal. So you mentioned something that's important. There are two things I want to make sure we speak to. One of them is, because a lot of people ask me this, and that is, can I get a loan to buy something in Portugal? So can you share, can they get financing? Is it structured differently? I'm assuming the lawyers are really notarios. Is that true? Or they're lawyers?
No, lawyers are, I always say, lawyers are for courtrooms. So we generally don't, we use lawyers when it has to do with like visa processes or even tax implications. So tax lawyers, etc. Definitely using a lawyer, but a lawyer is just a transaction. It's to complete the transaction.
Got it.
Because the actual notary closes on the property.
Right.
Lawyers can do the closings, but we prefer a third party, which is a notary. Okay,
Right.
a notary here is like not like in the US, like a
No.
notary here is like a judge. It's actually
Right.
above a judge. They're in the highest, especially when it comes to property exchange and deeds and everything. It's the notary that we use. But it is possible for a foreigner to buy a property here in Portugal and get a loan. Okay, they would qualify up to a 60% LTV, the loan to value ratio. So basically, they would need a 40% of their own capital. But the rest, the bank, the 60%, the bank will definitely loan. And even so, we're doing a deal now. For example, it's a client from San Francisco actually, and a lawyer, and the
Oh, of
lawyer.
course. Yes.
And he's actually buying the property. It's a property that's still being built. And so what happens is through the phase, the initial phase payments, the property owner, or actually the bank, is going to finance everything up until about a year and a half when the building is finished. Then the buyer is going to have to complete the transaction, and then that's when he needs the 40%. So in actuality, you're buying with zero money down for a year and a half. You're paying a loan. It's a different kind of loan. It's not a home loan or a mortgage, but because of the same way that it's a construction loan or a pre-construction.
Right.
Maybe the interest is a little more, etc. But basically, he doesn't need any capital now, and he's getting a 60%. Some banks may go up to 70%, depending on every single client is different, right? So they do all, and the way they do it is very simple. The same way that you would do it in the US, there is, since they have no history here with the Bank of Portugal, there's only one entity. I know that you have a lot of credit agencies there in the US to check it up. There's only one here, and it's the Bank of Portugal. The Bank of Portugal. So that's where everybody reports to. If you have already had a loan or something happens, etc., that's whether they have or don't. It has to get verified through there. But then they verify your income, they verify your assets, they verify all the normal, your W-2s, your IRS, the same way you would do it in the US. That you have the financial capability to pay for the loan, and that's all they care about, is that you have it with all the assets that you have, and even the homes and whatever expenses that you have to go with it, and then they balance it out. And if you have more than all you need to do is have a 40% ratio that you can pay for the loan and all living, etc. The risk, then it's not a problem. But all you need is 40% of your own capital. 60%.
So it can be done. That's good to know, because that, I had that popped in my head. I know you know Spencer well. Spencer's my friend as well, and Spencer says
Spencer, who
he's,
I love Spencer.
I
I'll tell
adore
you this.
him. I adore
I
him.
would tell you this about Spencer. I always say that me and Spencer, he's the tall one, but I'm the pretty one. We, I learned a lot, especially with trade missions. When you talked
Yes.
about trade missions earlier, I learned a lot from him because he's just remarkable in the way he does his business and international. And so you look up to people, and there's a lot of mentors around you all the
Yes,
time. You
yes,
just
yes, yes.
follow
Yeah.
what they do, and because
Yeah.
you learn a lot, and I definitely learned. But I always say, Spencer, you may be the tall one, but I'm the pretty one.
I love it. I love it. All right. I have another big one because I shared this with you a bit of time ago. And that's, and I actually, as you know, I teach CIPS. And when I talk about financials and economic issues, when I'm teaching CIPS, especially when it comes to certain countries, I spend a lot of time on aging populations. I spend a lot of time on unemployment and youth unemployment. And I also understand that economic challenges and blah, blah, blah. And the golden visa program in Portugal, but the golden visa program in general has really, really helped so many countries economically. It's really, and I think of Greece as an example that because they were in a boatload of trouble, and the golden visas the program has helped turn their economy into a better position. I know Portugal also has one, and I think it's changed. So can you share a little bit about, number one, if who's ever watching doesn't know what a golden visa is, they should. But talk about it in Portugal, if you don't mind. I think it's such an important topic.
Sure, Jenny. The golden visa, it is by far, as you might rightfully say, I think a lot of countries are adopting that. They're going to be doing an investment through or citizenship by investment,
Mhm.
authorization for residency through investment. That's what it's called here. And you got to remember when you had mentioned Greece, Portugal at the same time, when it was back, you got to remember when it was back in 2012, Portugal was bankrupt. Many people forgot that. And so we were under the World Monetary Fund helped us out, bailout. We were bailed out. We were able to pick ourselves up because of the way that the government made these programs. One of them was precisely the golden visa. And what that did, that welcomed foreign investment here through the purchase, acquisition, through real estate. That's what's mostly used for. You can also for creating jobs, capital funds of transfers, investing in the arts, etc. But the mostly widely used was for real estate acquisition. In the process of buying a property, 500,000 euros, or buying a property in an urban. What it is they wanted to rehabilitate
Right,
the older buildings, and that's what
right.
the golden visa was created. If you were back pre 2012 in Lisbon or Porto, okay, and you came to Lisbon now, you would see, wow, everything is beautiful. The buildings and there's still a lot more to do. And they've made changes now to the golden visa as of 2022, where in Lisbon and Porto and coastal areas of Algarve, people were not permitted already to buy. Okay, that's
Mhm.
2022. Fast forward now, 2023. They're going to be eliminating, but it's not definite yet. But the proposal, because of it's a program, Mais Habitação, more housing. It's a new housing measures that the government put in place and has to do a lot of touching upon a lot of, I would say, issues, real estate issues that you have them all over the world. Portugal is
Yes.
no different.
Yep.
High prices,
Yep.
lots of, unaffordable. It becomes unaffordable. But,
Mhm.
if it's unaffordable here, it's unaffordable elsewhere in the world.
Correct.
So blaming on programs like the Golden Visa that brought that investment, because that's how we bailed ourselves out
No
with that.
question
We
about
needed
it.
it. And
No
any
question.
country that really is against that, they're not opening themselves up to global markets. And we're globally connected. We really are. And people, investors and people that are moving, they want to go, hey, where am I going to put my money that I'm going to get a good return or somewhere?
Right,
And that's what
right,
it's about. I mean, that's
right.
otherwise, there's not a lot of Mother Teresa's in the world where it says, I'm gonna put in a couple of 100 million euros, I'm gonna invest, and I don't want nothing out of it. There's not that many of them. You don't that's just the way I
No,
see it.
they're not.
That's the reality. That's the
Yeah,
reality, right?
yeah.
So when you implement, and then also because the non-habitual resident tax, the NHR, okay, non-habitual resident, that is a program that anybody, for example, retirees that want to live in Portugal, they can benefit for a flat tax for 10 years. For 10% now, for 10% only paying on their passive income, and some can even be up to 0%, depending on the income and where it comes from or where it came, etc. But those are great tools that they brought foreign buyers. And all of a sudden, Portugal became on the map as a great place to invest.
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot of
Yep.
opportunities, etc. Yes, we have the great sunshine. Yes, we have the great beaches. Yes, we have the great food. Yes, we have the great wine. But yes, we have the safety. Yes, we have the
Yeah.
quality of life,
Yeah.
the cost of living. And when you add that all up together, it's a natural choice that Portugal became on the map. We've been here for centuries and we discovered many worlds around us.
Yes.
Now we're being discovered. Okay. And that's what it's about. The golden visa is just one of the tools. There's another process, I will tell you, that probably more used than the golden visa. And the golden visa, the changes that are going to be made now, the real estate part, buying house with 500,000 euros, probably safe. You still want to get in, probably in the next 2 months, that's your limit, because otherwise the only alternative you're going to have to go through if you want the golden visa is investing in the capital funds market, in the real estate, which is still possible. So golden visa will not be going away, but other changes will be made, Jenny, in the next couple of months, because now the measures have been proposed to Parliament. And then once Parliament approves, then the President of the Republic has to put the rubber stamp on that, and the laws have to be amended. So up until then, we have about a month and a half, 2 months before that happens. But there is other opportunities, like the passive income visa, otherwise known as the D7 visa, okay, which is geared towards and really for retirees, okay, where they prove their passive income here. Just the same way Spain has, and in a lot of other countries. Spain has, for example, the non-lucrative visa, okay, where but you have to prove an X amount. It's a high amount of passive income. Where in Portugal, it's based upon the minimum wage, and right now it's 760 euros. So if you're able to pay, imagine each couple, about 2,000 euros per person or something, 1,500 to 2,000 euros per person. If you can prove you have that passive income, they're going to let you have residency status, okay?
Mm.
And at the end of the 5 years, and you don't even have to buy a property, you can rent the property. So people moving here, but that's why it's enticing, and we want, especially Portugal. I think they never forget about having that. We need that foreign investment here. The
Yeah.
people, if they're going to rather live here than live in Mexico, which is a beautiful country, or in Spain, or anywhere in the world, we want them to live in Portugal. They're going to be part of the economy. They're going to be consuming. And so, in addition to having the golden visa, the D7 visa is another great bet. In addition to what we've had, it was introduced in October, which is the digital nomad visa.
I'm
Okay,
aware
where
of that. I'm aware of that. I saw something on
yeah,
that.
and
Mm.
everybody can work now remotely, right? And
Mm.
you can work anywhere. And so you have a lot of people that are working for companies all over the world, but
Mhm.
they want to live in Portugal. Why?
Mhm.
Quality of life,
Mhm.
cost of living, great sunshine. Yeah, we have it all year round. And the
I
food.
am waiting for you to say the food and the wine again.
Oh, my dear, I put on so many kilos after moving here more than 22 years ago that, I never looked back, but it is what it is. It's a smorgasbord. There's no shortage of any. And,
Yeah.
with the melting pot of so many
Yeah.
cultures, it's a multicultural diversity. So if you want to have Brazilian food, Thai
Yep.
food, Chinese food, food from Angola, Mozambique, from German, from this, from everywhere, Venezuela, everywhere, Colombian. There's so many countries or people that citizens have moved here. They open up their businesses, their restaurants, they bring that culture, and it's
Mhm.
widely accepted. And I love it. I love it. I really do.
I can tell. Which is why I'm excited to be talking with you. Well, you know what? I love all of this because these are such important things for people to understand. So talk to me about, how do you organize a trade mission? What is there one coming up that I can chat with people about, or we can add something about an upcoming trade mission that you're doing in this interview that we can then share on social and see what we can do?
Well, we were trying to get one done in October, but you know what? It's just too much. We try to keep it to two a year, 1, 2 a year, but it's just we've been so busy. I've been extremely busy that being out of the office for another week, and then I also participate in other trade missions. I just went to Georgia, also with the NAR and the Georgian Association, National Association of Real Estate. And so I participate in other trade missions as well. It's just what it is. And so being out of the office and other events that I speak and that I'm a member of other organizations. And so being out of the office is a lot. So we just try to keep it to once a year. And the next one it'll be, we just got done now with one that was about 3 weeks ago. And it's always in June. June is a great time. It's when really the end of spring and summer starts. So it's always in the beginning of June. So June 2024 will be our next trade mission. And what it is, it's very, it's organizing. And we, of course, if you're a member, I'm a member of NAR, okay, National Association of Realtors, and the CIPS realtors that want to learn, specifically them, or investing as well. Some of them are thinking of moving here, investing here, having a property here. So they want to get to know Portugal too, in addition to learning about how to do business in Portugal, right? And getting to know everything about it, not only the buying process, but why should they recommend someone that maybe somebody, I'll name, for example, one Antigone Twit, which is from Idaho, right? And, it's a Midwest there, right? And why should somebody from Idaho come in her neck of the woods that lives in her little local area? Why should they consider moving to Portugal? Well, she's been here, she's seen it, and that's what it is. And you get to know, I always say you should actively participate in the countries that are where expats are moving to.
Yes.
And there's a list, the top 5 countries. Always look at that list, and because people are moving around a lot. You have lists, NAR puts out a list where foreign buyers are buying in the US. Well, guess what? There's other lists where foreign buyers, these countries, where they're really rated high by expats. And you should be aware of that. Because people little around you, they're selling their home or neighbors or etc. And, they're moving to one of them. They're moving anywhere in the world. People are moving. Americans are leaving there. There's a lot of people moving to the US as well. But there's a lot of Americans. Hey, you know what? I want to move to Portugal. I want to explore Europe for the next, my retirement is going to be in Europe. And so this is the closest place, a starting point to Europe. And that's what makes it attractive. But basically what we want is just show Portugal, show why it should be a place to consider, with so many beautiful countries in the world to consider moving. And expats, the International Living magazine puts out a survey every single year. So they rate
I watch it. I read that all the time.
Well, Portugal this year is number 1, by the way.
I love that.
It's always on the top 5. It's always on the top 5.
And the other thing to remember that's so important that people don't know, unless you're a CIPS and you've studied this, is that you're part of the European Union.
Yeah.
And so that means there's Schengen. And that means you can go wherever you want to go.
It's a visa for you to travel to Portugal. It's on a Schengen visa as a tourist. And you could stay up to 90 days. So you travel all throughout Europe. And so most people, when they come on our trade missions as well, they spend 1 week with us, whether it's in the north or central or south of Portugal, depending on how we try to do where the opportunities are. The last one that we did was in the north, in Porto and the Minho region, which is in the north of Portugal. And there's a lot of opportunities there. People don't know what they don't know. And if you ask the realtors that visited on the last trade mission, they say, this is where lots of opportunities still exist, because areas of like Lisbon and Porto, the Algarve, everybody knows those areas, right? And there's a lot of opportunities there still, probably, but nothing like in this other regions that we tried to discover. And also we went to Spain too, so going over to Galicia. And that's what we try to do, just show that part of Portugal, and we try to cover, it's a lot of areas, so within a week. And people, and everything's all included, right? So everything's organized. You don't have to, all you have to do is get here, and that's it. Everything else is planned out for you for that week. Where to go, where to eat, the bus, we have this high luxury bus that chauffeurs is around. And so everything is planned out, a boat ride, everything. You don't have to, just leave it to us. That's what people trust us to do.
Is there wine on the bus? Is there wine on the bus?
Well, you can't drink alcohol on the bus, unfortunately. But if you don't let the driver see you, that's okay. But it is actually a law here. You can't drink. Even the passengers in the
darn it! I figured you were going to have a party bus.
Oh, but there's no shortage of wine, Ginny.
No, that's I only drink 3 things: coffee, water, and wine. Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. In that way.
Well, I'm excited about your next mission trip in June. I want to make sure I talk about it. It's been an absolute joy getting to know you. I want us to make a habit of this, even if it's like, I think we need to get a bunch of friends together and just Zoom together, maybe at time of the day where we all drinking a little glass of wine. It's too early for me here, but and just get together and still talk about how things are going, what's going on, how changes are going. And I've just added it to a calendar. So if you have dates in June, I might want to try to figure out if I can get there myself and maybe be a part of what you're doing over there.
It's usually in the beginning of June, the last week of May, first week of June, because that's when, before it gets like really, really hot as well. You know what I mean? Like, because it gets warm. June, July, and August are the warmest month. It's the busiest months. So it would never be the end of June because there's too much going on. It's always in the beginning. The weather is just mild enough. It's not hot enough. It's the end of spring, when spring is just knocking on summer's door, and that's the
Got it,
best.
got it, got it. Okay. Well, you are absolutely special and wonderful, and I love your smile, and my new best friend and my newest best friend in Europe and Portugal. And I really appreciate you taking the time to spend time with me. My goal is to get this up for everybody to see very quickly. From the bottom of my heart, Antonio, it's been an absolute delight. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And I'm going to look at my calendar and block out some time to maybe be on that next trip next June.
Absolutely.
Thank you for who you are. Thank you for all you know and your excitement, and you're just infectious, and people, no wonder people want to go there because they get to hang out with you.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's they have fun. We have fun. It's not boring, that's for sure.
No,
And
I don't like
we
boring. It
visit
has
and
no
learn
boring.
real estate, and that's what it's about. And
Absolutely. I
I
appreciate
think
you.
what's important about the trade missions as well, even realtors from all over, from Canada, they came from around the US, you know, even them, they're building relationships. And that's another part of the trade missions, is building those relationships
No
with other
question.
CIPS realtors.
No
You know,
question about it. No question about it. All right, my friend. I
thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you so very, very much. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you.
So what did you learn? I found it fascinating that I can still get a loan there. I was fascinated by the fact that there is new construction stuff. So construction loans can be done. That they have passive income visas to be able to retire there, the number of expats that are moving there. And it's just fascinating. And, you know, if you know anything about me at all, you know that I believe that the world is a marble, that we're all a global community, and that we have to know about more about everything and everywhere and interact with everybody everywhere if we can. So I hope you enjoyed that. It would be lovely to have you say, listen, I want to get more involved. How do I do that? So at the end of my video, you're going to see contact information for Antonio. And always, as always, please subscribe and sign up for more. I've got great things coming, a lot of fun things on the horizon, and I'll see you next time.